Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Two topics for this video. The first one, the guys in charge of Ukraine are threatening the chief negotiator, the chief Russian negotiator. Now, I said many times before that those guys in Kiev, that's why I use those guys in charge of Ukraine, not the Ukrainians. The guys in charge of Ukraine are acting like an organized crime cartel, like a gang, like mafia. And I will explain. They issued death threats to the Russian chief negotiator, who's supposed to meet the Ukrainians again, the Ukrainian delegation, representing the Ukrainian nation in Istanbul, possibly on the 2nd of June. I made a video on that a few hours ago. Now that's how mafia acts. And the second topic has to do with if, according to Scott Ritter, the Western intelligence or the West helped the Ukrainian drones attack Putin's helicopter while Putin was visiting Kursk Oblast, then the West was directly involved in this, and that could trigger something that Russia can always use as a blanche card, like a rain check, which is, I have this, I can use it like a trump, I can trump everybody, which is using its nuclear arsenal, following their nuclear doctrine. Well, these are the two topics. If the Westerners help the Ukrainians, that qualifies, it falls under the Russian nuclear warheads, nuclear weapons use doctrine. So it's a matter of time if the Russians decide, according to their doctrine, they have a green light to use nuclear weapons on whomever they find to be responsible. So let's start with the first topic, acting like thugs. I've said many times before, not because I don't like the guys from the get-go. I'm talking about the thugs in charge of the Ukrainian nation, placed over there by foreign interests. I'm not saying this because I don't like them. I got to dislike them based on their actions and their statements. Assassinations, playing like thugs, behaving like thugs in the White House, for instance, in the Oval Office, and not only. Always doors open for them, even though they're thugs, dressed like thugs, supposedly for an superior, higher ideas. No, they threaten, according to the Russians, I'm going to show you the article, they threaten the chief negotiator, Mr. Medinsky, with death threats. They threaten him and his family. Now, who does this? Well, remember how mafia used to operate? They have a judge who was supposed to, preside over a court hearing, and they had one of the mafia guys over there in the defendant box or accused box. Remember what they did? They threatened this guy and his family. That's what they did. Well, that's why I call it the United States of America Al Capone, because it works using the same methods, using threats, if you don't do what I tell you, blackmail, then a regime change, and then full St. Patrick assassination or whatever that was. Exactly. So let's go. Russia Today, May 29th. Alleged, you see, these guys are professionals. Professionals. If that would be CNN, would be threats to chief Russian negotiators' family outrageous. They will say, they will leave this out. They will say it as it's a real thing. Now these guys are professionals and say alleged threats to chief Russian negotiators' family outrageous. That's why the Russians are more of a continuation of our Western civilization, which is not a Judeo-Christian culture, but the Greco-Roman civilization. They are the heirs. They are promoting, they still hold the line. The Westerners are perverted. Who perverted them? The same guys who are in charge of Ukraine. Got it? Spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said investigators are working to find out where the messages to Vladimir Medinsky are coming from. That's why they're alleged. Beautiful. Beautiful wordage. Alleged threats being made against Russia's chief negotiator Vladimir Medinsky and his family are outrageous. No, they're criminal. Not outrageous, they're criminal. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Thursday, noting that authorities are already working to determine their source. His remarks come after TV presenter Vladimir Solovyov recently stated that Medinsky, who led Russia's delegation at the peace talks with Ukraine in Istanbul earlier this month and in February 2022, was receiving death threats from the Ukrainian side. It's a claim. Statement. His family was also allegedly targeted. Peskov called the situation, and I'm quoting, unprecedented, and said that if investigators find that threats are coming from Ukraine, it would be, and I'm quoting, utterly outrageous, particularly as Moscow has offered to hold another round of negotiations next Monday. According to Solovyov, the threats are coming from Ukrainian nationalists, not the state, who have even targeted Medinsky's children. He claimed that the negotiator's family has received messages such as, and I'm quoting, we know where our children are and we have a lot of explosive packed scooters. All right. Solovyov also recalled that there were cases when negotiators were threatened, and there were tragic cases, and there are well known. Several terrorist attacks involving electronic scooters took place. So, my friends, what do you think? Obviously, this is wrong. But remember, let's say Vitkov, who is the Jewish special U.S. appointed special envoy, this guy, Steve Vitkov, represents United States of America in United States of America's negotiations with Iran. And he's Jewish. He's not Palestinian. He's Jewish. You understand the implication? I'm not implying that Mr. Vitkov is subjective or he has a loyalty towards Israel or anything like that. But I think you try to eliminate things like this. And if you tell me, well, who would you want to appoint but a guy who knows things? Well, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of Iranians living in America who could be used as the Middle East envoys and go and talk to Netanyahu, for instance, representing the United States' might. I'm not talking about a sold-out Iranian, but Iranian with a little bit loyalty towards Iran. That would be never happening. If that happens, that means United States of America broke its shackles, became free. All right, so Vitkov, remember, went over there. He's speaking with these guys, with the Iranians in the negotiations, the so-called nuclear deal negotiations. And let's say some in Iran, some nationalists in Iran, some crazies as they call them, some let's say Islamic, crazy, extremist Islamics, which is possible, although everything is possible, call Mr. Vitkov and threaten his family and so on. What do you think the Americans will do? Would you think they will look at it as just kids? Remember Crocodile Dundee? Just kids. When those kids tried to rob Crocodile Dundee while he was getting out with his girlfriend, and they have a little knife. Give me your wallet, I'm gonna cut you. And then Crocodile Dundee like, and she said, give him your wallet. He's got a knife. And Crocodile Dundee says, that's not a knife. This is a knife. And brings a fucking 12-inch long machete out. And then cuts the guy a little bit. And guys are, and after the kids leave, young adults. And she says like, and he says, putting back his machete, kids. The same here. Kids, do you think Americans will look at it as, oh, the Iranian, just kids. Let's go with the negotiations. I guarantee you there will be threats of bombing Tehran just like that. So that's the first one. That's horrible. Whomever does that, I think the Ukrainians should be the Ukrainian authorities or the guys in charge of Ukraine should look into that more than the Russians. Wouldn't you do that? Let's say you have a child who broke or is accused of breaking someone's windows with some rocks. And the neighbor says, if I catch your child, I'm going to fuck him up. What would you do? Well, hold on. Let me investigate here and smack my child. for that, or make sure that happens. And then I get with you and say, hey, it happened, didn't happen, and so on. I'm interested to find out if my child did that to you. Even though I'm quarreling with you, I'm having a fight with you, I will get my child to see, hey, it happened. Don't do that. It's between me and that guy. You destroy our, maybe we're going to be friends later today. All right, so that's with this one. My point regarding this article is these guys in charge of the Ukrainian nation are following the same patterns. Assassins, making blackmail, threats, and these are the guys who are portrayed by our free media as being the beautiful Ukrainians. First, they're not Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are the ones who die for these guys' garbage interests promoted by the guys in charge of the media, US media. You know who those guys are? Interest. Economic, financial interest. Let's go to the second article. Russia Today. Ukraine needed Western help to target Putin's helicopter, 29th of May, according to Scott Ritter. Now, if you're not familiar with the situation, or if you are, I'm going to just summarize it. Putin visited Kursk region, which was invaded by NATO using Ukrainian military and mercenaries and volunteers, and pushed them back. And he came over there, Putin visits to see what's going on. When he took off, these guys, allegedly, according to the Russians, everything I say is according to these guys. I'm not saying that's 100% true. That's what they said. Swarmed the helicopters to try to destroy it, about 50-some drones or something like that. Massive drone attack, and became the epicenter of a drone attack. Eventually, these air defense systems, the Russians, protected the helicopter and everything was good. Scott Ritter claims that that attack could not have been taking place without the Western help, Western support, and that is going to go straight to the Russian nuclear arsenal use doctrine, which says if that happens to a leader trying to attack the head of state or the institutions, and they try to do it with the help of a nuclear or non-nuclear state, that means this guy's going to use the Ukrainians and I'm the guy helping, we can use, definitely that falls under the protocols of the elders of New York. All right, so let's read this article and see what point Ritter makes. Kiev and its foreign backers are, quote-unquote, playing with fire, the former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer has told Russia Today. Ukraine must have relied on assistance from the West if it did in fact target a helicopter carrying Russian President Vladimir Putin last week. Former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer and UN weapons inspector Scott Ritter has told Russia Today. Russian Air Defense Division Commander Yuri Dashkin told the Russia One channel last week that Putin's helicopter had been caught in the epicenter of a massive Ukrainian drone attack during a visit to Kursk region on Monday the 20th. The intensity of aerial incursions, and I'm quoting, increased significantly when the president was in the air, with approximately 46 incoming fixed wing UAVs being shot down in the area. In an interview with Russia Today on Wednesday, Ritter stressed that if, and I'm quoting, the Ukrainian drones actually targeted the Russian president, they did not do so in a vacuum. There would have been assistance provided by the West, which means that the West is targeting the Russian president. Well, if and made and could so far. And I'm quoting, if you read the Russian nuclear doctrine, this is a trigger for Russian nuclear retaliation or preemptive strikes. So who is playing with fire here? It is not Vladimir Putin who is playing with fire, it is Ukraine and the West that are playing with fire, he added. The former U.S. Marine Corps major has referred to a comment by U.S. President Donald Trump, who claimed earlier last week that Putin was playing with fire. So, what do you think, my friends? Well, I think that these guys breached those protocols or the doctrine many times, and the Russians did not do squat yet. So that's not a good indicator that the Russians are, in this case, consistent. But the Russians probably want something more serious, and I hope it never happened, like in this case, Putin's helicopter being targeted or hit, to say, you know what, remember that one? Payback now. And the problem is with these guys in the media, in the Western so-called media, I don't want to call them propagandists because these are not propagandists. These guys are operatives. They're like agents. They're agents. They work for the media. Yeah, okay. Right? So if that would happen one day, and let's say Russia uses Oreshnik or something with nuclear warheads, or I don't know, a Kinzhal, or maybe an Iskander, the media here will start history that day. For them, the situation starts then. They will not look back. They don't look to anything back when they don't want to look back because of the spin of the narrative. They don't look back in Israel, back more than, I don't know, 7th of October. No, there's like, that was point zero. That's where the history starts. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't start there. The same with Americans in Ukraine. The Russians invaded on the 24th of February 2022. Unprovoked, unjustifiable invasion. The history did not start over there. The history, if you want, started with the formation of Washington Treaty, which is NATO. That's when it started. I mean, if you want to go back, they go back to, well, I don't know, Adam and Eve. All right? Or to the aliens putting together whatever garbage we are, and then, oh my God, we gotta tweak them a little bit, get some more, wipe these guys, try again, maybe that one. And they come and see how is the dumpster doing. We are the dumpster. Oh my God, ooh, they don't evolve at all. They're the same guys. They just wear clothes now. Oh, they can wear clothes now, okay. Oh, but they snip their balls. Oh my God, goes without saying. That's the same people. All right. They go back to caves pretty soon because of the global warming. We have to be efficient. So we're not going to use anything. We're going to go in the caves and stay over there and work for those guys. So if that happened, I don't know if that happened, my opinion, not based on facts, but on previous situations. Yes, I think the West is almost always involved in any major attack on Russia. Offensive attack or defensive to hit the Russian missiles and drones. They are always involved. Most likely, I'm not talking about a drone here from this platoon to that platoon. I'm not talking about that one. Obviously, the Westerns are not that with a little drone dropping on a guy who takes a shit in the woods. There's not the way, oh my God, let's run it with the West. There's not going to be like that. But the major things, and this is a major thing, at 99% it could be. I'm not saying it is, but I'm not a baboon either. I might look like one, but act like one, but not today, all right? Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.